this week really is something special, and we've got the designer here as well. It's the Polestar 3. We have a couple of different models and another one coming, but we can't talk about that just yet. So we'll talk about these two, which is the performance model and the non-performance model of the all-wheel drive version. So that's a motor at the front, motor at the back. And this one has 380 kilowatts and a 111 kilowatt hour battery. Polestar 3 launches as a single model with 360 kilowatts and 840 newton meters. And the $9,000 performance pack brings power up to 380 kilowatts and 910 newton meters, and it decreases the 0 to 100 from 5 seconds to 4.7 seconds. It also adds some tasty trim such as the gold seat belts and other highlights. The launch edition comes standard with both Pilot and Plus packs, and all those cars have been pre-configured and are for sale now. The 2025 Polestar 3 still has the Pilot pack as standard, but the Plus pack becomes an $8,000 option. Optional LiDAR adds an extra $7,000 and the Pixel Matrix headlights are $2,700. The rear-wheel drive Polestar 3 arrives in 2025 and starts at $118,420. There's a ton of boot space and the rear is absolutely capacious. You'll notice that the handles are popped out and the seat is set for me, and this is what I was talking about with loads of space. Right. Keep in mind I'm a man of the fuller figure. I've still got tons of space. There's still space under the seat for my feet, and the floor is flat, and I've got another zone of climate control in the back. The back is actually as nice as the front. It's the interior where they've really gone bananas with this term luxury. So start, for example, with the speakers. There's a wing at the top of that tweeter that echoes the wing on the front of the car. I've got a head-up display, and look at this cute little thing in the style of a motorcycle, this little readout. It's really clear and just gives you the information that you want. And the tablet, 14 inches plus, has 3 separate zones. There's recently used apps on one side, air conditioning always at the bottom along with home and so forth, Google Assistant, and then adjustments, so I can adjust quickly the steering, because that's all linked to a profile, steering, seats and mirrors. And I can see that this is actually pretty good for me to go. I might just raise the seat a smidge. There's lots of different menus that Polestar have purposely gone out of their way to hide in certain places, and they say that they put them in places that are obvious, but they're not obvious unless you've actually been using it for a while. The console is completely clear except for the play and pause button and volume, which I think is just astounding. They've made it look clean and neat and Scandi, whereas brands like Tesla have removed everything except for this tablet. And I think it's really important to have something in front of the driver. None of the steering wheel buttons are marked because it comes up here instead of being marked here, and I don't like that at all. Volume, the only one I can find is this. There is Google Assistant though. Let's get started. I've now got it in gear. Air conditioning is, bring up air conditioning. I've got massage, I've got the sync button on. I've made this 21. I can get seat heating and cooling. Steering wheel heating, I'm just going to pop that on 3. That'll do. Let's get going. On my car menu is where I can make all the other adjustments. Child lock, I've turned the child lock on the back door. All right, let's get started. All right, this does have one pedal driving, but you've got to turn it on, and I've not activated it because there are some times when it's best for you not to have one pedal driving activated, believe it or not. It's actually better for you to roll and not capture that energy. So I'm rolling now, for example. I can see my little display here that I've got the speed, the speed limit, and essential details. The good thing about the map is that it is always there, occupying the top bar 2/3 or so of the screen. Indicators on the wrong side, of course. Now, when you think of a designer, a car designer who was at our dinner last night, what you think about is the person that designs the outside of the car. But in fact, there's two teams. There's one that oversees the entire project. There's two teams that do the design. One does the outside, one does the inside. And so these beautiful touch points have been made with sustainable materials. The Nappa leather is the same as used in Rolls-Royce. The beautiful east coast of Tasmania is a great place for a road trip. Despite the fact that this fairly enormous SUV has large wheels, there's no hint of bounce around corners. It doesn't thump over potholes. The air suspension is incredibly well behaved. I mean, it's just beautiful. If I could touch on the looks for just a moment, it is a fairly low slung, considering it's a full-size or a large SUV. The rear slopes down because the designer said you don't need all that space over your head. It's absolutely right. You don't. You don't use it. How many SUVs have you seen where it's packed up to full height and I've still got a good 6 inches between me and the ceiling? What's 6 inches between friends? Then I want to talk about the Bowers & Wilkins system. The Bowers & Wilkins 25 speaker sound system is amazing. It's got Dolby Atmos, although there's not many things that can take advantage of it. But the sound is absolutely sensational. We come to price. There is a two-wheel version coming, a rear-wheel drive. And 130 plus, 140 on the road for the non-performance version, and another $10,000 or whatever for the performance version. We've had a number of cars at the event. So you'll see in the film, I've shown you a couple of different cars. There's beautiful wood trim, and the touch points on the doors feel very luxurious. The designer, a little bit like Karl Lagerfeld with black hair, young Karl Lagerfeld with black hair. Very pleased about the way the outside looked, and all of the things on the body do something. They're there to aid aerodynamics. Now, normally I wouldn't be an SUV buyer. I'm not an SUV person. I don't particularly like SUVs. I don't dislike them, but you know, they're a little bit overkill. On the other hand, this Polestar 3 feels very planted, very steady, very handsome, very fast, and they've gotten power use down to about 20 kilowatts per 100 kilometers. So my range allegedly is over 600 kilometers. However, this is 82% and it's showing 320 kilometers. Now that's based on the flogging that it's been getting. So in other words, people will be getting into this and putting their foot down like I just did. And that's because you really want to. I'm just going to put on performance. Okay, now I've hit the performance button and I'm just going to put on one pedal braking. So for this kind of money, you're in the same market as the Audis and Mercedes-Benz and the BMWs. This is far better looking than anything from Mercedes or BMW by a long shot. It is blisteringly fast. It's made on the Spa 2 platform, which it will share with other Geely brands and other Polestar models. And importantly, the battery itself can be serviced. So if you had a dead cell, you can replace little individual modules which are made up of the individual cells. And every EV maker has told me that batteries last longer than the car. They'll have a second life in a house or some sort of group storage facility. That's all in beautiful Tasmania for the Polestar 3. I can't think of a time when I've been more excited about a battery electric car. It does everything it says on the box and more. But as always, leave a comment, hit like, and just there to subscribe.